Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up.
All right, let's start this week.
Shimon, you're learning that the FBI, some FBI analysts spent Election Day scrolling through Facebook. Why?
That's right. And basically, the point of that was to look for fake news. And we're told that counterintelligence analysts and investigators were huddled in a room at FBI headquarters on Election Day, monitoring social media. And what they could see was streams of fake news, negative stories being posted about Hillary Clinton, some having to do with her health. According to multiple sources, they were able to identify suspected Russian links to the accounts that appeared, Jake, to be pushing this news, this fake negative stories about Hillary Clinton.
And Pamela, was the FBI, were they coordinating in any way with the White House?
They were. There was constant coordination on election night. You had the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and the Director of National Intelligence holding conference calls every 3 hours with a team in the Situation Room in the White House to discuss any possible problems. Of course, the big concern then was that the vote could be tampered with, that the machines could be tampered with by hackers. And while there were some minor issues that popped up across the country from Alaska to Georgia, there were no major incidents or disruptions of the vote, the sources said. And we should note, Jake, the FBI declined to comment.
You've got Russia.
You got Russia. The FBI is monitoring the election on Election Day on big screens, okay? And all they see is fake news being fed into targeted Facebook feeds. Oh. This is incredible. I mean, what you have here is a digital operation. And of course, we heard Jared was in charge of the digital, and he had his digits in the entire fake news thing. You know, meanwhile, Trump is tweeting pro-Trump messages from what is either a bot or a fake account. He's tweeting fake news to fake followers. I mean, you know, look, the history of Donald Trump is thus. Donald Trump has lied to almost everybody every time he needs their money. Donald Trump will do anything for money, anything, anywhere, anytime, any place. Donald Trump, brought himself to prominence by lying about Barack Obama not being born in the United States. He started birtherism. This was the big lie Donald Trump started. The second big lie he ran on was Mexicans are rapists and that black people live in hell. Okay, there's no neighborhoods. There's no middle class neighborhoods of mixed neighborhoods or black neighborhoods that are worth a damn. Bye Atlanta. Okay, just pack it up. Your whole neighborhood's hell. You know, but it's unbelievable the amount of fake news. And then the more that you look into Donald Trump, the more you find that he's now doing propaganda currently with a fake news channel that was rumored to be, Trump news. It was people were talking about whether or not I was talking about whether or not he would, after he got impeached, because I never believed he would serve a full term, and I still don't. And so, you know, everybody's talking about, well, what will he do after? And a lot of people are saying, oh, he'll start a fake media company. He will. He'll, make Fox look stupid. Well, Fox is gutted. I mean, there's really nobody left there. In fact, Eric Bolling just got suspended from Fox News for tweeting, apparently, genitalia pictures, to female colleagues. Tweeting pictures of his junk, and I don't mean hunks with junk. Hauling. I don't mean that. I mean, he was actually taking, he was doing the Anthony Weiner thing. Let's just say it that way. He was sending Weiner pics, or something that rhymes with pics, or rhymes with Weiner. Yeah, and he was reported to Fox News by 14 sources. 14 sources. 14 sources. The women did not, this is what the article says, the women did not solicit the messages, which they told colleagues were deeply upsetting and offensive. Oh, man, it must have been ugly. One of the recipients said that when she replied to Bolling via text telling him to never send her photos like that again. He did not respond. 4 people outside of the actual recipients confirmed to Huffington Post that they had seen the photo, and 8 others said that the people who received the photos had spoken to them about it. So this whole place is like swimming in sexual harassment suits and swimming in Bill O'Reilly and swimming in bad behavior and swimming. I mean, everybody has left. Gretchen Carlson left. Megyn Kelly left. I mean, anybody that the only one left there is Sean Hannity, who is the biggest cheerleader for Trump. And, you know, he's forced to lie now. He's the one that really needs to, you know, resign in shame over the Seth Rich story, because he's the one that promoted that Seth Rich story, saying his conscience made him do it. He had to find out if Seth Rich, a dead person who can't speak for himself, was the source of WikiLeaks and not Russia. I mean, the lengths to which this news channel goes to lie. You would think you've seen everything, but oh no, over the weekend, actually last weekend it started, but nobody made a big damn deal about it because it was just Donald Trump's daughter-in-law. I think it was, Beavis's wife. It was Beavis's wife, Uday's wife. And she was on the TV in front of a big Donald Trump sign, you know, like a big Trump emblem, a big Trump logo, saying what a great president he is and how awesome he is and blah. And it really looked like propaganda, you know, for Trump. And then this weekend, Kayleigh McInerney, she needs a vowel movement, because you want to say McInerney, but she doesn't have the I in there. She needs the vowel movement. But she was on her Trump propaganda channel this week.
Hey everybody, I'm Kayleigh McInerney. Thank you for joining us as we provide you the news of the week from Trump Tower here in New York.
You gotta be kidding.
More great economic news on Friday. The July jobs report added a better than expected 209,000 jobs.
Woo-hoo.
Overall, since the president took office, President Trump has created more than 1 million jobs. The unemployment rate is at a 16-year low, and consumer confidence is at a 16-year high, all while the Dow Jones continues to break records.
We've had 82 months of successive job growth. This man has introduced no legislation whatsoever. And if he wants to tout the stock market, he really should give a hat tip and a little thank you to Janet Yellen, who has kept interest rates down. Now, if you're in the investor class, good for you. The working man has not seen his wages increase, and these same numbers that Donald Trump said represented 45% unemployment are the same numbers he's now touting. Now, when Obama was showing that we had 81 months of job growth, they said those numbers were fake. Donald Trump has been president for 6 months, and now he says he's responsible for those 81. I don't know how he retroactively did. Just the mere mention, the mere knowing that he might be president was just it was just such good news to anybody that, I don't know. They started hiring people. I mean, none of it makes any sense, but this is what they're doing, and it's all propaganda, and it's really creepy. And some people who are looking at it, who are media, journalists and media people, they said this is something you would see out of North Korea. This is like, the dear leader crap. This is amazing. So now she has become the RNC spokesperson, and she's on Trump's channel now, and I don't know where Ryan says. Maybe he's tweeting some photos to her. Maybe he's the camera operator. I don't know. Maybe Scaramucci is the sound guy too. I'm not sure where he went, because he was going to do fake news this weekend and then he canceled it. I don't know. Maybe he couldn't find the makeup person because they're working overtime on Sarah Huckabee Sanders. It's a big job. Big. Somebody's got to do it. It's big. Huge. Bigger than both of us. I mean, this is the craziest thing. So this is what they're doing. They're just, they're doing propaganda. And the crazy thing is that's what this investigation about Russian interference is looking at. It's looking at who pushed out fake news. It's looking at who paid all these people in St. Petersburg to be trolls. It's looking at Russia's hacking of the DNC voter registration files. And then the question becomes, did the hacking of the DNC voter registration files, did that information then get passed to Jared, who was in charge of digital operations, so that they would know, where to target, because this wasn't pro-Trump stuff. This wasn't getting out the vote for Trump. This was suppressing the vote against Hillary Clinton. So how did anybody know who to target? Well, the only thing that we have to go on is that the Russians hacked the voter registration files. And we know that because that's been testified to by Comey, by Jay Johnson, head of Homeland Security, by the Comey, the former FBI, the DNI, James Clapper, the former CIA. They've all testified that this went a lot further than you probably realize. And so you have to wonder, how did Jared get all this information about exactly who's. Now, I will tell you, Facebook will not release very specific information about this digital effort. But they will say that there was an enormous amount of anti-Hillary stuff being funneled into specific, IP addresses. They just won't say who, what, when, where, why, and how. Something tells me they're going to have to go, get subpoenaed. And this is going to be another argument. And all because Donald Trump won't tell the truth. All because Jared Kushner won't tell the truth. All because Junior won't tell the truth. Last week when we found out that, there were, that they had all these emails, saying, hey, meet us. We're Russian intelligence people. Where the government of Russia is backing Donald Trump. We have dirt on Hillary Clinton. Trump Jr. was exposed as being a liar, not once, not twice, but not until the New York Times was going to release those emails did he release the emails that clearly showed that the previous two press releases about what went on at that meeting were lies. Then last week, the cherry on the cake of that story was that Donald Trump Sr. actually wrote the excuse note saying, they came to talk about adoption. And then Jay Sekulow was on TV going, Donald Trump didn't write that. Donald Trump didn't write that. And then all of a sudden, Sarah Huckabee comes out with her new makeup and hair and a ruffled dress and says he did what any father would do, meaning she threw him under the bus. Yes, he did write the letter for Junior. He did write it, and we were lying. I mean, it's so mind-blowing. So, half or more of the Twitter accounts we now know that are following Donald Trump are bots or fakes. So what you have here is Donald Trump chasing his own tail down the rabbit hole of up is down, black is white. I mean, like I said, he lives in an alternate reality, and he doesn't want. I mean, this is the opposite of Watergate. Last week he said also that if Mueller starts going into his financials, that's a red line. Meaning he would fire Mueller. And when he sat down with the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, he gave an interview to them, and they asked him, what are you going to do about Mueller if he does do this, if he crosses a red line? And he said, we'll see if he keeps his job. We'll see. It's the same damn thing he said to Jeff Sessions. It's the same damn thing he said to Reince Priebus. It's the same. He threatens everybody. We'll see. He said it to Comey too. That Comey came begging for his job, and he goes, well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, the man is such a congenital liar. It's unbelievable. So you had Rod Rosenstein, go on Fox News this weekend, and they asked him mostly about the leak investigations. Okay, are you doing them? And he said yes, and I can play you that. He says yes. And, Chris Wallace asked him, are you looking at Congress as leakers? Are you looking at White House officials as leakers? Are you looking at journalists as leakers? He said all of it. We're looking at everything. We're just, journalists, they have, they don't go to jail for publishing leaked material, which is going to piss off the right wing because they hate journalists. They hate them. They like fake news. They're used to fake news. They've been raised on fake news. The past 2 years have been nothing but fake news and propaganda machines and Fox News, and Seth Rich did it, and, dead people coming from, beyond the grave to talk to Julian Assange, who offers $20,000 if we could find the leaker, very sick. But the most disgusting part of the interview was when finally you had to have Chris Wallace ask the question about the red line. And Rod Rosenstein said, I signed the order to make Mueller the special prosecutor. And anything that he finds along the way is fair game. And if something is a little off the beaten path, then yeah, he's got to come to me and get consent from me to investigate a crime that he found was committed during the investigation. And so it sounds to me like Rod is down with this.
When you appointed Mueller, and you were the one who did, you had to sign an order authorizing the appointment of a special counsel. And you said that he was authorized to investigate any coordination with Russia and, I want to put these words on the screen, any matters that arose or may arise directly from the investigation. My question is, does that mean that there are no red lines that Mueller or any special counsel can investigate under the terms of your order anything he finds?
Well, Chris, the special counsel is subject to the rules and regulations of the Department of Justice, and we don't engage in fishing expeditions. Now, that order that you read, that doesn't detail specifically who may be the subject of the investigation, because we don't reveal that publicly. But Bob Mueller understands, and I understand, the specific scope of the investigation, and so, no, it's not a fishing expedition.
Oh, my
I understand it's not a fishing expedition, but you say any matters that arose or may arise directly from the investigation. In the course of his investigation of the issues that he is looking at, if he finds evidence of a crime, can he look at that?
Well, Chris, if he finds evidence of a crime that's within the scope of what Director Mueller and I have agreed is the appropriate scope of his investigation, then he can. If it's something outside that scope, he needs to come to the Acting Attorney General, at this time me, for permission to expand his investigation. But we don't talk about that publicly, and so the speculation you've seen in the news media, that's not anything that I've said. It's not anything Director Mueller said. We don't know who's saying it or how credible those sources are.
I mean, people ask about this, of course, because you had Ken Starr and Whitewater, and it began with a failed real estate deal in Arkansas and ended up with Monica Lewinsky. To expand, he would need to get approval from you to expand the nature of the investigation.
That's correct, just as did Ken Starr. You know, Ken Starr received an expansion, I believe was initiated by the Department of Justice, by Janet Reno, that resulted in that investigation.
Whoops. Whoops. So here you have the President of the United States tweeting it's a witch hunt, it's a hoax, it's a fake investigation, it's not real, it's, you know, a fishing expedition. Kellyanne Conway was on the TV going, it's a fishing expedition. And here you have the man who appointed the special prosecutor saying in no uncertain terms, twice in 2 sentences, this is not a fishing expedition. And if they came to me, Mueller did, and it was anything outside the scope, now I don't know what is outside the scope. Financials is certainly within the scope, and we know that because almost every lawyer that Mueller has brought on board is somebody who tracks down money laundering, financial crimes, foreign bribery cases. So obviously they're looking at his money. Obviously they're looking at the history of his relationship with Russia. And there's plenty to find there, going back to the 80s with mobsters from Russia and money laundering through the purchase of, Trump Soho properties that went bankrupt and Trump Tower. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.